Yo guys, Vision here, back with more Minecraft content. With today's video, I will bring you the full farming guide as a part of our Minecraft survival series, with this being episode 31, which will go into detail on all of the tips and tricks of crops, wildlife, planting, and more to help those new players and returning players like myself, whether you have a long-term forever world, building a farming empire on a realm with you and your friends, or simply trying to survive in the hardcore environments. This video will help you along the way. So with that said, let's get right into it. So first things first, what are crop farms in Minecraft Survival? In case you guys are new to the game or a returning player like myself once upon a time, these produce food and other items from plants grown on farmland or similar blocks, which can be within or local to your main base of operations. They can be manually harvested, so by player, as well as semi-automatic using water flushing methods, which will help you save a little bit of time becoming more efficient, as well as helping you store items a bit more efficiently as well. It also involves the use of redstone or fully automatic farms using villagers and pistons, all of which are very useful depending on which stage you're at in your world. Often translates to what version of farming method you are going to use or of course want in your world. The following items are all of the listed items that can be farmed as materials, both crops and trees, and each of these items will become more valuable or less depending on which stage you're at in the world, whatever you're seeking, whatever type of environment you're in. These are all what dictates exactly when you would need these certain items. Some of them are pretty much useless for the most part. It of course, just like I said, depends on what you're looking for and what you stage you're at in your world, all of these factors. So the main and most important, or arguably the most go-to and consistent ones, are things like wheat, potatoes, carrots, beetroot. These are all going to give you seeds and food, items that are going to be valuable for other factors later on, but especially in hardcore and keeping you alive, as well as sugarcane for paper, fuel, of course rockets later when you get elytra, pumpkins and melons for pies, jack-o'-lanterns for decoration, slices, glistening melons, whatever it may be for brewing, as well as bamboo for fuel, scaffolding, kelp for fuel and food, cactus for fuel, green dye, or even XP. Typically, a lot of these farms are more semi-automatic. You can set them up with using redstone, but they do cause your world to lag the more of these you have, and of course, the larger of them. So maybe split them out across multiple projects if you're in a forever world. And of course, if you're in hardcore, it depends, of course, which stage you're at, but really you just want to go for the ones that are going to give you the most food value and maybe, of course, some XP, which will help you in the long term. Other things as well you can go for are things like cocoa beans, nether warts for potions, even chorus fruit and flowers, which are basically used for purpur or teleportation, which is sometimes useful, but for the most part, it's just a gimmick. It's not something that I would say you should go for in your world, especially if you're early game. And then there are also tree farms. Automated wood harvesters can also be used for logs, planks, sticks, and saplings. Again, it does come with the downside of causing lag if you have a lot of this going on, which works for all types of woods: oak, birch, spruce, jungle, acacia, dark oak, mangrove, cherry, and even the nether ones such as crimson and warped. All of these can all be farmed in your worlds. I've had multiple different types of forever worlds so far, with being in a realm, a normal one, which we started along the way to actually kick off this series, as well as a hardcore one, and all of these sort of farms I've incorporated into my world to help me in just becoming more sustainable, and also just having an abundance of these resources available to you in long-term forever worlds is going to save you with a lot of time later on, especially if you're building mega projects, something you're going to work on that's going to take a lot of time, and you want to use it for decorations or food sources or whatever it may be. This is all useful stuff that, of course, you do have to originally set out in your way and find these certain things for the most part, especially if it's like a mangrove biome, which can be quite rare to find, or you have to go into the nether for these types of tree farms, whatever it may be. Redstone is going to be your best friend in these sort of builds. I'm not going to go over any particular build in this video because I can appreciate that would take forever. For the most part, there are so many good guides out there that are going to teach you on how to set up the perfect crop farm. I've had automated crop farms which have been useful in itself, but the time it takes to set up for the first time, if you've got to learn the language of the villagers and understand exactly how to get them to trade certain types of materials, whether it's wheat, seeds, or whatever, it does take a lot of time, so it does come with the downsides. So please consider all these factors. But if this video was a guide for each of these items on how to basically build a crop farm, this video would go on for an hour or more. So that's why I wanted to sort of summarize all of the factors to remind new players and of course returning players to what you guys can and can't farm in this game, which is going to be really useful, especially if you're starting out a brand new forever world. You can build all sorts of buildings and projects in this game. It's all up to your imagination and your creativity, and just knowing which types of materials are going to help build on that journey and help keep you alive with food sources is really important. There are other plant farms to consider as well, such as flowers, which you can pretty much do all types, from dandelions, poppies, tulips, and they can all be used for things like dyes or even suspicious stews, which are going to be useful as well for debuffing effects or giving you guys that bonus health, as well as mushrooms, red and brown, used for food, Also suspicious stews and huge mushrooms, which look cool for decorative features, as well as sweet berries or glow berries, again, really good for decoration, vines, ferns, drip leaves, nether growth roots, fungi, and even nether vines. Again, all of these are pretty much in my own world used for decorations. They're just really nice to have. It just makes the world a bit more colorful, adds a bit more detail and theme to the world in itself, and just adds that extra layer of depth, especially when you've gone out of your way and you've got these materials and you don't particularly know what to do with them. Again, this is more for forever worlds. If you're starting out a brand new world, these are not really going to be relevant for you guys. But all of these items can be individually grown and farmed, utilizing each of the items for specific or generic use to help around short and long-term projects in your forever worlds. Again, for decorative features, whether it's for food sources, XP, or the particular need of whatever it may be. You can even use, again, things like sugarcane for gunpowder, which can help you with your elytras. Having a massive sugarcane farm in your world is a must-have, especially in long-term worlds where you have elytras. Having that available to you on your doorstep and not having to go out your way and look for sugarcane is going to be a time saver. And whether you want to set it up as automatic, potentially cause some more lag, whatever you want to do, whether you're on your own world playing solo, it doesn't really matter about lag. But at the end of the day, the more of these things you have, the more risk that you have to consider, especially with corrupting your world as well. So if you're not on a realm like myself and you are new to this series and you haven't seen the previous episodes we've gone over so far in this journey, we actually had a forever world that did corrupt in the end, and it was for a multitude of reasons. I went over in a lot more detail in that video as to what maybe have caused that problem, but there are things that you will want to consider in your forever world, which is why I have mentioned it multiple times throughout. So consider all of these things. But that's pretty much the video in itself. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and do not forget to like and subscribe, as it massively helps me out. I am a small creator and I'm just trying to help out some newer players and a returning player like myself who hadn't played survival for a very long time, came back to the game and had to pick up on all of these things myself with my friends. So I just thought it would be useful to continue producing guides for those sort of players, that player base, that demographic of person that wants to pick up Minecraft either for the first time or the first time in a long time. But with that said, if you've enjoyed, do not forget to like and subscribe. It massively helps me out. I am a small creator, and if you have any comments or tips and tricks or strategies that you could help out any players returning or new, let us know down below, guys, in the comments. That could be really useful for anyone watching this for the first time. I'm Visionist Gen, and I'll see you in the next one.